Hi, welcome to the Bitcoin Brew, where we look at the macro environment and its impact on Bitcoin. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Amy Andrews, and today I am joined by a special guest, Christine Cranley. Christine, thank you for being here.
It's such a joy to be with you, Amy.
Thanks for filling in today on our brew. Last Wednesday, we saw Bitcoin hit its highest amount that we've seen in over 5 months at 24,000. It's now followed by a decline. We're currently hovering around 22,000. Wednesday, the Fed raised the interest rates another 0.25%. But on the upside, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported an increase of 517,000 new jobs just last month. Bitcoin price is spiking in Nigeria as the Naira is being redesigned and a bank run has depleted the currency. The Central Bank of Nigeria has imposed a limit on how much they can withdraw. Right now, Bitcoin is valued at 38,000 in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, wow.
Right?
Almost double.
Amazing. Today, we're going to talk about our opinions on the 30th annual NAPE in Houston, some legislative updates out of Austin, a merger between Hut 8 and the U.S. Bitcoin Core, and Binance and MasterCard are partnering up in Brazil. Let's get to it.
So our first topic today, the Texas Blockchain Council is thrilled to have partnered with some of our members, Pumpjack Power, Weaver, Crusoe, to help present the first ever Bitcoin mining pavilion at the NAPE Summit in Houston this year. NAPE, or the North American Prospect Expo Trade Show, is the premier event for deal-making in the energy industry. It's basically the world's largest marketplace for connecting energy producers with investors, vendors, and purchasers. Hence the tagline, where deals happen. So it was pretty exciting to see some of our members presenting on Bitcoin mining with Stranded Gas. We saw Brent Whitehead with Giga Energy start us off. And then after that, Gideon Powell with Chola Petroleum and Cully Cavness with Crusoe. And then we had other miners there like Upstream Data on the expo floor. They even had a data box on the to showcase it. I would say there were several dozens of people in the audience throughout the programming, a large number. And I would say it was really well received. There was a lot of the exhibitors there and deal makers there, oil fields there, speaking to the miners, learning more. So what's really exciting about it too is the fact that this is the first one, but I don't think we're ever going to go back. You know, it's such a value add to what NAPE's doing, and it really is kind of a no-brainer for some of that gas that there's no other market for it, and it's just being vented or flared. So it was a great event, and for those of you that weren't able to make it, hope to see you there next time.
I've been hearing that oil and gas and Bitcoin miners are making a really good, kind of striking up a great partnership, but it sounds like that was really highlighted at the Bitcoin mining pavilion this year.
Absolutely. There was such a synergy. And, you know, it's just such a fantastic option. We know that when you're mining, natural gas is a waste product. And it works out great if you have infrastructure built out that way to sell it back to the grid. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, there's nowhere to sell it. Or even some places in the Permian Basin, there's just too much to get it in that pipeline. And so normally it's vented or flared, but even when you're burning it, there's still about 91% that's caught and about 9% that escapes. So it's such an answer in so many ways. You just bring the diesel generator out to the field, plop it down, start mining Bitcoin, diversified stream of income for the fields that are selling the gas. So easy solution, but so much of the progress that needs to happen really comes with educating. And so that's what this pavilion presented, was a chance for them to learn and ask their questions.
That makes good sense. And I mean, it's diminishing the carbon footprint, which is always a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's what it's doing. Right now, only a small percent of the mining is done with stranded gas, but I think it's going to continue to grow. And what it does is it helps make the network carbon negative, actually, because you're taking methane emissions that would normally just be going into the atmosphere and you're removing them. So you really are cleaning up the environment with Bitcoin mining, which I think is so cool.
I mean, that's a tagline I can get behind. I'm so sorry I didn't make it to NAPE. I got hung up in the ice storm.
Oh, wow.
That
Yeah, we missed
impacted
you.
a bunch of us up here in Dallas, all the way down to Austin. And it actually impacted the legislation that's happening right now. The 88th legislation session is occurring in Austin as we speak. The TBC has 10 pieces of legislation that we are backing this year. This week, committees have been formed and the assignments will be announced today or tomorrow. Key issues include how to appropriate an unprecedented $33 billion of surplus, property tax relief, border security, mental health, and school safety are taking priority in these discussions. The electric grid debates we are watching very closely. Abbott believes previous reforms were sufficient, but Lieutenant Governor Patrick has it high on his list. The PUC is entering phase 2 of the ERCOT market redesign, while both PUC and ERCOT remain under review. Phase 2 will include incentivizing development of dispatchable generation, and TPC has 2 pieces here. One that eliminates a severance tax for the flare gas that we just discussed, and another that will incentivize participation with ERCOT. A TBC-backed bill authored by Representative Capriglione has been named. House Bill 1666 calls for the segregation of customer funds, prohibits commingling of accounts, and requires showing your proof of reserves and liabilities.
So important.
Right, especially after the FTX fallout, all of that.
And so easy to do, right? It's all there on chain.
Absolutely. I mean, the exchanges, they're the ones that would be showing their this. I think there's kind of some mixed emotions about it.
Sure.
But hopefully it'll keep everybody safe and from...
Yeah, and transparency is always a good thing.
Absolutely. TBC has 3 resolutions altogether, as well as 7 bills. You can read about them on our policy page of our website.
Well, I'm still struck by the fact that we have a $33 billion surplus. I mean, not a bad problem to have, I suppose.
Not a bad problem. It's total opposite of what the federal government is seeing.
Yes. Good to be in Texas. But, I'm so glad that we have a place at the table because, like it or not, regulation is coming and it can be a really good thing. And so I'm just really grateful to the TBC to have, as I said, a place at the table where we can kind of help craft these bills so that they do help the industry flourish. So really exciting what's being done.
I think so, too. And you're so right about educating and not only the key policyholders, but also the public and talking to your council members, your representatives, and making sure that this is a talking point that they're hearing and learning about.
Absolutely, because there's so much misinformation or even just half information. They're hearing noise about energy usage and there's not the understanding. So for our members or our listeners that really care about these issues, what are some of the things that they can do to help assist in these efforts?
I think identifying who your council members are, who your representatives are. Also, we're identifying as these committees get formed, the chairs of these committees, you want to be in their ear and talking about this and, really trying to change the narrative that unfortunately we're kind of trying to shake with the negativity, with the energy and also the FTX and, just sort of the bad rap that the crypto environment has right now.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. And I assume people could sign up for our newsletter as well to continue updates on it and participate.
Absolutely. And you're always welcome to become a member where you can be on a committee that drafts the legislation that we will see coming down the pike in further sessions.
That's fantastic.
Yes. One last piece before we move on. I did want to mention a bill out of New York. It's New York Assembly Bill 2532 is actually working to legalize crypto payments for things like fines, taxes, rent, penalties, and more. So
New York.
I know, right? Where there's been all kinds of tension, moratoriums, BitLicense was born here. But apparently this has been on their agenda since 2017. So it's good to see kind of a silver lining out of New York right now.
Good for New York. I lived in New York for a time, and I'm glad to see the community continuing to advocate for Bitcoin and digital assets because you think of New York as kind of a hard place to be mining, but I'm really glad to hear that. And speaking of mining, so this week, Hut 8 announced a merger with one of our member companies, US Bitcoin Core. They're calling it a merger of equals. And the new company is going to be called Hut 8 Core, but nicknamed New Hut, and it'll be domiciled here in the United States. So this merger will help both companies strengthen and diversify their offerings. So focusing on mining digital assets, hosting, managed infrastructure, and high-performance computing organization, including equipment repairs and equipment generation. New Hut will have a combined portfolio of 5.6 exahashes of installed self-mining capacity at 5 sites across North America, 2 of which are here in Texas. They will also offer 220 megawatts of hosting infrastructure, again in Texas at King Mountain. They have managed infrastructure operations powered by 680 megawatts across the United States. So the gross energy across self-mining, hosting, and managed infrastructure operations totals approximately 825 megawatts. The merger will also assist Hut 8 and U.S. Bitcoin Core by diversifying their energy resources. So between the two of them, they have already and are going to be building out more wind, hydro, and nuclear in their portfolio. And of course, it's always nice to see that they have so many projects here in Texas.
This is fantastic. I'm keying off of hydro and nuclear. Those are 2 forms of energy that we don't hear much of happening in Texas.
Yes.
Super cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they grow and expand. And, to be honest, I always have a little bit of mixed feelings about mergers because the whole thing about Bitcoin is it's a decentralized network. And the whole idea that proof of work, anybody can participate, you do the work, you can mine the Bitcoin. But I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this as we go forward, just with the difficulty rate increasing as more and more miners come online. The price of power has been crazy with world events and all that's happening. And so the fact that this is going to allow both companies to continue to keep going in the midst of a very difficult bear market that we've been in, I think is good overall for the space that we're going to continue to have mining. It's domiciled here in the U.S. A lot of the mines are in Texas. And I think as many of the miners believe, if we can just get through the low points until hopefully Bitcoin starts going up again, and that's when a lot of the money rushes in. But it's really when you build in the bear market that you're most positioned for success going into hopefully the next bull run.
I see what you're saying. And as we approach the next halving, do you expect to see more of these, fewer of these? What are your thoughts?
It's hard to say. A lot of the miners that are still around have survived a lot already. And so a lot of the ones that had really high cost of power or got their machines at a very high rate or were very leveraged, a lot of those have been wiped out. So I don't know how much more. I mean, who knows? We don't know how long prices will be where they're at, but we may. It's not a very clear prediction, but we may continue to see these, or who knows? Maybe where the end is near and Bitcoin will go up again soon. So it remains to be seen.
Fingers crossed. It sounds like a win-win for both of them, Hut 8 and U.S. Bitcoin Core. So
absolutely,
it's exciting. I have a partnership I wanted to highlight with you today. It's between Binance and MasterCard.
Interesting.
Yes. Binance and MasterCard have teamed up to launch a Binance card in Brazil. It's issued by DOC, and it will allow Binance users to make purchases, pay bills with crypto at over 90 MasterCard merchants worldwide. The really cool thing about this card is that it seamlessly it converts your crypto into fiat so that you can exchange with the merchant.
Very interesting. And which cryptos?
Okay, so you've got Shiba Inu, USDT. I saw XRP on there, of course, Bitcoin, ETH. There's 14 total cryptocurrencies that you can.
14 total.
Pretty cool, huh?
Very interesting. Well, oftentimes when I'm talking to people about Bitcoin who don't really understand its use case or value very much, that's one of the first things they throw at me. Well, what can I buy with it? Right? So very interesting. It gives you instant liquidity and capacity to purchase. But I also think about the whole dilemma of the Bitcoin pizza guy, right? So you know that story. He spent 10,000 Bitcoin to make the first ever purchase of something, which ended up being 2 pizzas, which he was really excited about. But now that Bitcoin is worth, I think I did the calculations today, about $230 million. So it's funny. I know a lot of Bitcoiners who are never going to sell those coins, right? They're going to give them to their children's children. But at the same time, it's kind of cool that it's promoting adoption and the whole use as a currency, making it easy for people to spend those. So very interesting development.
I know. I thought that was cool too. And the thing that's great is you get 8% cash back on this card. There's no ATM fee. So that makes it very incentivizing.
Wow.
And, sort of a counterpoint is that, instead of hodling Bitcoin, I mean, there's value to that, obviously. But once we start exchanging it, like we're seeing in Nigeria, Brazil, Argentina was actually the first country to launch this card. I think exchange is really the way that's going to forward mass adoption, in my opinion.
Because if they have an experience of, oh, this coin bought me this cup of coffee or this pizza, it makes it real for people that are still kind of on the fence.
I totally agree. Well, Christine, thank you for joining me today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please consider liking and subscribing. We have an event coming up at the end of March where we've partnered with the SMU Blockchain Club. So if you are hiring, looking for a future grad to come work, come out. We're going to be in Dallas at the Pie Top right on Henderson.
I'm excited.
It should be fun. Also, we've got NAPE interviews that are dropping any day now. I know you sat down with a few really interesting guests.
Oh, it was so fun. It's always a bit like being at a family reunion at these events, especially the Bitcoin mining community, because they're all your old friends.
That's spam.
Look, I think they're pretty fun interviews, so hopefully our viewers will enjoy those.
Christine, tell our viewers, where can we find you on social media?
So you can follow me on Twitter at Christine Cranley. And then you'll be in obviously our YouTube channel if you want to like and subscribe to get more content like this. Hopefully we'll be producing more as we go along.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.